Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Filipino Genealogy channel. Today's video will continue on yesterday's reboot of the video on Queen Letizia of Spain's supposed Filipino ancestry. Today's topic will be on the common terms of racial classification one could find when researching ancestors in Spanish period documents. Upon the colonization of the Spaniards of many territories, and the subsequent commingling of the Spanish soldiers with the local women, mixed-breed children were born. These mixed-race children were generally identified by the Spanish colonist and Portuguese colonist as Castas. Casta is an Iberian word, meaning lineage, breed or race. While it is clear that racial classification in the Philippines occurred on a smaller scale than other Spanish territories in the Americas during the Spanish colonial period, racial classes were used to determine how much a certain class paid in taxes. This difference in taxation based on one's race was even an issue for Philippine national hero, Jose Rizal's grandfather, Juan Mercado. When he was elected Capitan of Biñan Laguna, he changed the tribute lists so that his family was no longer listed as Chinese Mestizos, but were enrolled as Indios. This significantly lowered their tax to half, as the Chinese Mestizos were taxed double that of an Indio. There were four main categories of race for most of its territories: Peninsular, Creole, Indio, and Negro. Added to these were the Singli or Chinese, who were abundant in the Philippines. The first in the racial classification was the Peninsular. When one finds an ancestor listed as a Peninsular in records, this means the person was of Spanish descent born in Spain. The Peninsulares were the Spaniards appointed to important jobs in the government, the army, and the Catholic Church by the Crown, and usually did not live permanently in any one place. The second group of Peninsulares were those settled permanently in a specific region, and came to associate with it. In some records, they were also called Español Europeo, or European Spaniard. The next racial classification is the Criollo. The Criollo was a Spaniard who was born in the Spanish colony. These were people who, in theory, were of full direct Spanish ancestry, but born in the Philippines. In reality, white Criollos could also have some native ancestry, but this would be disregarded for families who had maintained a certain status. The term Criollo was later replaced with the terms Insulares and Filipinos. Filipino was the term given to the great-grandfather of Queen Letizia of Spain, since he was born in the Philippines to Spanish parents. Sangli is the next racial classification. The Sanglis were the Chinese inhabitants in the Philippines, usually born in China. They were also known as Chino Infieles, or those Chinese residents who did not convert to Christianity. Or as Chino Cristianos, or those Chinese who were baptized into the Catholic faith. The Indio is the next classification. The Indios were the majority inhabitants of the Philippines. They were the original settlers of the colony, and were usually ranked at the bottom of the social structure. Indio was a general term applied to native Malay or Malayan, a Malayo-Polynesian-speaking people known as the Austronesians. As a legal classification, it was only applied to Christianized Malayo-Polynesians who lived in proximity to the Spanish colonies. Next were the Mestizos. The Mestizos were persons of mixed parentage. They could be Mestizo Spaniard, or one with a Spanish father and Indio mother. Mestizo Sangli referred to one with a Chinese father and Indio mother. While the Casta system had a specific term for Mestizos as they progressed in every generation, the term Mestizo was loosely used in most records in Spanish Philippines, and usually a family continued to be classified as Mestizo, whether Chinese or Spanish, in the male line for as long as possible. There are probably other racial terms that were used in some Spanish-era records such as Moreno, which was not very common. But as a starting knowledge, these terms are a good starting point. Although the so-called caste system in other Spanish colonies were more pronounced, recent studies have disproved many of the assumptions about this system. This Spanish colonial caste system, based on race, was then abolished after the Philippines' independence from Spain in 1898. The word Filipino later expanded to include the entire population of the Philippines, regardless of racial ancestry. So that's it for today's video. We hope you learned something new, and enjoyed today's episode. Watch out for another video, tomorrow at 8 a.m. Philippine Standard Time. Thank you for watching, and stay safe always. Goodbye.